This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you are encouraged to like and share them on Facebook because it's time for Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie to bring you a weekly visit from the host of the African American scene, Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. You know, every now and then I get a surprise. I got a Facebook message from somebody last week who was with a group of guys listening. That's good. I'm glad you were listening. Hope you're listening again tonight. And this time, don't be shy. If you disagree with me, and I happen to know you, so you're not shy. So if you disagree with me, call up and let's have at it. Listen, one of the things that I have to do each year is in preparation for the Medicare season, I have to take all these blasted tests. I have to take a federal test called the AHIP, which states my competency in understanding all of the fundamentals of senior health care. Then I have to go and I have to get certified by each one of the carriers before I can go out and sell their products. And while that's my annual headache, and it really is quite painful because you have to do a lot of studying, a lot of reading, one of the things that struck me as I was going through some of the reading I had to do was the amount of fraud. I so often hear my conservative friends talk about the need to cut back on entitlements. Medicare, Social Security, we can't afford them. Well, you know what? I'm going to say hooey to that. What we can't afford is the fraud. And the fraud is a byproduct of my conservative friends' belief in capitalism is the key and the solution to all that ails us. Capitalists are fleecing the system. And capitalism, and listen, and those of you that don't know me, I'm an entrepreneur. So I am not opposed to capitalism. I like to make money like everybody else, but what's happening, this greed, and let's face it, if you want to be honest, capitalism is based on greed. This greed is causing injury to our economy and especially to the people that can least afford it. For example, they're talking about cutting back on Medicare because the deficit's growing and the cost of Medicare is too high. Well, listen, I just got finished reading and taking a test for my AHIP. You know how much we paid out in fraud in Medicare last year? $2.7 billion in Medicare fraud. $2.7 billion. Now, that's doctors and hospitals and medical device people manipulating the system to try to make it pay them more money. The problem is not the old folks like me who are collecting Medicare or like you that's collecting Medicare. It is the capitalists who are out there trying to maximize profit and then turn around and say the problem is they need to take your money. Well, I'm sorry. We got to stop that. And the number one thing that I hear, and it's now gotten to the point where it's grinding on my nerves when somebody says it. I mean, it's just like somebody scraping their fingernails across a blackboard, that they don't want anybody taking their money. I don't want your money. I don't. I don't want your money. I just want to have a system that's fair and helps everybody. And I'm going to give you another one. Teachers. Every time there's a budget crisis, teachers get the hose. It's one of the things I like about Andrew Gillum. Gillum said, hey, we got to pay teachers properly. I think I talked about this last week. You know, a few years ago, I had the opportunity when Vanessa Tillman was still head of the union to invited me in to meet with some of the incoming new teachers. Oh, and I met with about 3 or 4 nice little kids who had just graduated, and their parents came over to my office and they made me promise that I would look out after them because they were from Michigan. And I did, and they were sweet, sweet kids. And they're gone. You know why? They wasn't making no money. Now, think about this for a second. Okay? Now, just give it a thought. You have been convinced unions are a problem and that we must destroy the unions because they're putting undue pressure on the financial system. That's what you've been told, right? But unions give teachers a voice. Some of the teachers still have unions, and some of the other school board people have unions. And then there's some trades that have unions. But overall union participation is down by an enormous percentage point, like 30, 40% down than to what it used to be. So what is happening, you're surrendering the power for negotiations of the average Joe to the corporate heads. And most of them are not going to be fair. They're going to do what is, and you know what? Let me backtrack off of that statement. They're going to do what makes their stockholders happy. Not about fairness. They're going to do what makes their stockholders happy. That's their number one primary concern. My stockholders. I got to make them happy. So if that means screw my teachers and the teachers can't do anything about it, so be it. They get screwed. But think about this for a second. Think about the lawyers, the doctors, the accountants that are operating in our community. Somebody taught them. One of our teachers taught them. What is their value? I don't know. You know, how do you value that? When you have a person that has taught a kid that now becomes a doctor, what's the value? What's the value of that teacher? What's the value of that teacher that helps a kid become an engineer? What's the value? Where our priorities are messed up. Our priorities are messed up because we place emphasis on companies and helping them grow their stock portfolio as opposed to our employees who make valuable contributions to our community. We got a problem. So don't tell me about socialism. Socialism and you know, we want to come and take your money. No, 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 no. I don't want to take your money. I just want you to make sure that people are getting a fair wage. And it's been proven by some of the countries like Australia who give a fair wage and they don't increase the deficit, that you can do that. We've got states that have given an increase in minimum wage, and there has not been a corresponding injury to the deficit. So we can do those things, but we have to want to. We have to care enough about those people in our community, especially those teachers that are so valuable in creating productive human beings. And the phone number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. I would like to hear what you have to say. If you think I'm full of it and I don't know what I'm talking about, please come on, I'm ready for you. Let's hear it. I want to hear what you have to say. But I am convinced our target is on the wrong people. We're targeting Medicare, saying it's too expensive. We're targeting teachers, saying they're too expensive. And what we need to do, as I've just told you, after taking this last study, $2.7 billion in Medicare fraud in 2018. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money in fraud. Imagine if we could stop that. But that's an investment of another kind. Well, we're going to take a little break. And again, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Don't be afraid to call, because Rudy knows he's not preaching to the choir here on WPSL, simply because of the popular nationally syndicated conservative talk shows that we have on the station. And we understand that some of the listeners might not get it. So if you don't get it, or if you want to get it or want to find out why, just call and ask. It's that simple. 340-1590. Rudy's line is open right now.
Serving the entire Treasure Coast, Howard Insurance and Associates in Port St. Lucie offers a wide variety of insurance products, along with the very best customer service. Whether you're shopping for the best homeowners coverage at the most affordable value, contact Rudy Howard's team at Howard Insurance and Associates. If you need coverage for your vehicle, call Howard Insurance and Associates, 343-9878. That's 343-9878. Maybe you're planning to add a boat, motorcycle, or RV. Call Howard Insurance and Associates for your free quote at 343-9878 and get the coverage you need at a cost that will fit your budget. For home or business, auto, or recreational vehicle, choose Howard Insurance and Associates, 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Suite 206, Port St. Lucie. And for your free rate quote, call them at 343-9878, 343-9878. Weather this hour is brought to you by Seacoast Air Conditioning, your hometown air conditioning company since 1982. For repairs or a whole new system, call 772-466-2400.
Tonight's forecast, a passing shower, otherwise partly cloudy, low temperatures down into the middle 70s. Tomorrow, partly sunny, isolated scattered showers, thunderstorms, highs up near 90 degrees, and similar forecast through the weekend, just our normal showers and thunderstorms. No rain effects from Florence, but we will have coastal effects in the form of large waves hitting our coastline. Biggest on Thursday for the Treasure Coast. Expect strong rip currents and dangerous boating conditions the last day. Seas will come down quite a bit for the weekend. I'm WPTV Storm Team 5 meteorologist James Whelan for WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Weather this hour is brought to you by Seacoast Air Conditioning, your hometown air conditioning company since 1982. For repairs or a whole new system, call 772-466-2400.
Comfort crisis? Don't roast. Call Seacoast.
I got to add something to our disclaimer. The views expressed on this following show may or may not be yours, but you're allowed to call 340-1590 and talk about it because, hey, it's all on the table for your discussion right here tonight. 340-1590. And now back to the African-American scene with Rudy Howard.
You know, let me tell you something. I got to share this with you, and I can't say any more than this because it's against the law, but What I will tell you is that the open Medicare enrollment season's coming up next month, and it begins on October 15th. And I've gone through some of the product trainings already. I would suggest, if you have not looked at your plan for a couple of years, that you get with your agent to talk to them about your plan, because things have changed. And it would be in your best interest just to find out if there's anything different out there than what you have now, because there are some things. There's even some plans out there for people with special issues like COPD or diabetes. So just take some time to talk to your person. But no, they can't do anything for you until October 15th. They can begin to review plans with you on October 1st. That's just a courtesy piece of information from me. Now, let me say this to you about, if you've listened to me for any length of time, I have really struggled with those folks that don't want people to have health care. That is something that has really caused me agita, and I still can't completely figure out why somebody's opposed to that. But I will tell you, the newest thing is this Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. I cannot understand why people are so aggravated with him protesting by taking a knee, when it is not meant to be a slight on the country. It's not meant to be a slight on the military. It is designed to grab your attention about an issue that's important to him and to many black people.
Does it perhaps affect his faith? Because if he drops to a knee, there's some faith involved there. Now, is this another kind of discrimination against faith coming about here?
No, I think it's just that, listen, one of my good friends that I've known now for over 20 years, he's opposed to this knee thing, and he and I are on the same page 98% of the time, but he is just stuck on this knee thing. And I don't understand why that is such an issue for most people, especially when you look at what he's done. He got a plane, he chartered a plane, filled it up with food, and took it to some hungry people. He put on seminars in several of the disadvantaged cities around this country, put seminars on for young kids. Never been in trouble that I'm aware of. Never had abuse of a spouse or girlfriend or anything, and I've never heard him say any disparaging words about police officers. He's simply saying there's a problem that he thinks that we need to focus on. I don't know why that can make you go crazy. I just, maybe somebody can call in and tell me why that is such an issue, because to me, he's been a choir boy for the most part, and people are like, they have all this vitriol against him, and I don't get it. But I will tell you this, for those of you that don't know it, he and his attorney filed suit against the NFL for collusion against him not getting a job with the NFL team, and they won phase one of the suit. I suspect at some point he's going to get a very healthy payday for what they've done to him. But, but that's another. But, hey, listen, if you're out there and you say, well, Rudy don't know what the heck he's talking about. I think that this guy is wrong. He should have never done that. But I will tell you this. If you don't think If you don't think that that's a problem, okay, here's the latest situation if you haven't heard it. This cop in Dallas who supposedly was headed to her apartment opens up the door to another apartment and kills the guy, shoots him dead. Said that she thought it was her apartment. The man is dead. She's not in jail. She was in her uniform off duty. I don't know.
Do they have matching identical furniture or something?
Hey, man, I don't know. Steve on line one.
Hey, Rudy.
Hey.
How you doing?
Okay.
You ready to beat up on me tonight?
Oh, sure.
That's what I thought. It's just me and you. I'm your audience tonight, I can tell.
Okay.
Hey, I would say the criteria that's been used for being offensive is plenty enough for a liberal to say that, hey, if it's offensive, it doesn't need to be done. And actually, a lot of people are offended by people taking a knee when the national anthem's going on. Kaepernick actually had socks that had police officers with pigs on it. So, I mean, that's going a little far, I think, too. But neither here nor there. But if the criteria is if it's offensive, don't do it. Or if you can't understand it and it's offensive to somebody, don't do it. You know, you always like to go back to, well, if it'll just help one person or save one person, or the same would apply to offensive if you want to use that logic. But some people may think it's good, and Kaepernick has the opportunity to do everything out of that he wants. He can buy food, he can do clothing, he can do everything he wants. And with this deal with Nike, he can do even a lot more. So that's where I think you should stand.
Okay, so since it would upset somebody, he shouldn't do it.
Well, if that's not my criteria, but that's the criteria that the liberal and progressives and the liberal Democrats use. That, hey, if it's offensive, then we have to deal with that. When it's people that is of their persuasion, we'll say, that they think that it should stop. And they're very vocal about it when it's against things that they don't like. They're very reactionary, and they're very to the point of, in some cases, taking away freedom of speech from somebody else because they feel that person doesn't have the right to offend other people. So, I mean, if there's a logic in there, the logic from their point of view, or the agreement would be that it's offensive. That's why you shouldn't do it.
Well, okay, I understand.
Does that make sense?
I understand your point. No, it doesn't make sense, and I'll tell you why it does make sense.
Okay, tell me why you think it doesn't make sense.
Okay, because when those 7 kids sat down at that lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina, where they were not allowed to sit because of the color of their skin.
You're going to a way different area there.
You're asking me. I'm giving you an example where somebody did a protest that was against what most people wanted because they wanted the lunch counter to stay white.
Yeah.
And they sat down there, and it caused a brouhaha.
Yeah, but we're way beyond that.
Was that wrong for them to do that?
Sure, it was. I agree with that.
Oh no, I'm saying, was it wrong for them to sit down at that lunch counter?
No, it wasn't. And because of the way it was a constitutional right. Freedom of speech is a constitutional right too.
Okay.
And see, that's where the metal hits the road. Hey, I know what we're standing on. I got to hear you read my statement from my letter. Was that last week or the week before? I've been pretty busy, so I'm my one at a time. And what you read about that, I had said in the letter that racism takes a lot of your time and your thought. and you were kind of disagreeing with it. And I found it kind of funny that you had to defend yourself, because that's the same argument that a white person would use. It says, well, I have black friends, and you do that over and over again. But you had to protect yourself, and that's what you did. And I found that, enlightening, that you are human. And
He admitted it, Rudy.
you're human, and that you want to protect yourself, and you want people to know, hey, that's not what I think about all the time.
Can we go so deep into the description as call him a man?
So maybe there's some microaggression in your point of view that you just haven't come to grips with yet.
Oh, okay. So you're doing a psychoanalysis of me now, right?
No, I'm using the same philosophical points that you use.
Okay. All right.
But other than that, that was just I found it interesting. But the last point was, and I wish you would have read the last part of my letter to him, too, about your relationship, and maybe you are right where God wants you to be. You're not a victim. You're a potential. And that was the whole point of the letter. The letter went through different definitions. So when in discussing certain topics, that we're on the same plane, and those are all dictionary definitions. But my point is that sometimes even God puts us in positions that are not really good to make the best of it, and in some cases, it is much better off than we would have been if we would have been in the other side of the situation. So,
well, thank you, sir. I got another caller.
Okie dokie.
All right,
Thank
Steve. You. Okay, we got Jeff on line 2. Yes, sir.
Push the button, Jeff.
About the respect for the flag that the people have died for. Okay, and then Kaepernick or whatever his name is has an issue with that. I really don't care if the man goes and sits in the restroom during whatever. It's just the respect for the flag. You grow up in your whole life, you know that the flag represents all the people that have given their lives and given sacrifices so we can live in a place that it's probably not perfect today. Absolutely, would never say it was perfect. But you know something? Why do that everybody want to come here? It's because it's the best that's out there right now. And it's just, we can beat a dead horse to a dead horse, but every day it gets a little better. It gets a little better. This whole thing about the NFL, they make so damn much money. I don't know why anybody gives a crap about them at all to begin with, but that's beside the point. It's just one of those things, and I'll let you take it from there, but it's all about the respect for a flag that many people have died for, and that's the reason why it upsets people so much.
Well, wait.
Nobody wants a black person to die by the hands of a cop that's doing something wrong. Nobody technically wants that. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt because somebody did something wrong. You got plenty of wackos in this world, and it's like you can't be responsible for all of them, and the best you can do is the best you can do. But it's a man once told me once, you can live by sacrifice or you can die by sacrifice. So I mean, there's and what he meant there was, if you always give things up and you never turn around and say you're wrong sometimes, or you don't have any remorse about you, that'll end up killing you, because you'll end up driving yourself crazy with it anyway. But
Jeff,
anyway, that's exactly why 90% of the Americans are upset about Kaepernick doing that, is because it's what the flag represents.
Okay, well, let me say this to you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I went through a period, and I can tell you exactly when it happened, when those athletes in 1968 in Mexico City stood on that podium and raised their glove in protest of how black people were being discriminated against, and they stripped their medals from them. I didn't pledge allegiance to the flag for over 20 years. And you know why? Let me tell you why. Because I would be in the room, and I could look across the room at somebody who was pledging allegiance to the flag and didn't believe the words, because when you pledge allegiance to the flag and liberty and justice for all, and I'm looking at that person, and that person don't give a crap about me and would hurt me when they got outside. So I'm thinking to myself, how can I pledge allegiance to the flag? That guy's pledging allegiance and he don't mean it.
Well, I said there's a whole bunch of wackos in this world.
I know, but can you understand? Can you understand?
No, I can understand that, but I can give you a list of 15 names of people that in my family died on the side of the Union fighting to free the black man.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Okay.
Hey, if you've listened to me for any time,
I know, we can give you a whole list of white people, which I feel are good people, that died trying to help the black people get out of this crap that these minority of people are just being so stupid they can't see their hand before their whatever. And they died because they believed, like I believe and like you believe, nobody. Hey, you put your pants on the same way I do. You brush your teeth the same way I do. There ain't no difference between you and me.
There you go.
We both got a heart. We both got eyeballs. We both got, hey, if you got a better suntan than I am, I'm envious. But, what does it take for people not to be ignorant? This is all about ignorance, man. And when you hear about people saying, I don't like those people, well, okay, how much ignorance are we going on now? It's like, it's trying to all stop. And all the people that think like you and I and the rest of us need to stand up and tell those people when they do stupid stuff like that, that's a stupid thing you just did right there. Now, you may not change their mind, but you know something? I beg to believe that you're probably making them think about that along the way somewhere. Because
well, thank you, Steve, because I got another phone call, but I appreciate you.
You take care.
All right, thank you so much. And Steve, how are you, sir?
Yeah, Steve's are haunting you. I wanted to make a couple of comments on the flag thing.
Yeah.
I'm tired of Americans wrapping themselves in the flag and then driving away in a Kia. The other thing is they make a big deal out of Kaepernick taking a knee and disrespecting the flag. Well, read the flag code. You can't lay the flag on its side at a football game and have a bunch of people wave it.
That's right.
That's against it. So let's cancel the Super Bowl and World Series and all that stuff. I'm tired of it. And the third thing is when people try to separate everybody by their race, color, creed, or national origin or whatever.
Or the car they drive.
They're not being Americans. They're being fascists, because only a fascist would separate you that way, like Hitler did in World War II and Mussolini.
Yeah.
So I'm tired of what I call the phony American. The one that, oh my God, the flag is so sacred. Where's my Honda?
That's why they get
mad when you say
make America great again.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make America great again. When was it not great?
Amen.
Tell me that. So, I don't know if I'm getting so old that I'm getting grouchy, or people are getting so stupid that I can't stand it anymore.
When we get up there, the wisdom starts kicking in, it really offends others.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Steve. I got another phone call.
Okay.
I appreciate you. And we got Winnie on line 2. Yes, Winnie.
How you doing? How you doing? I thought to call you Steve, Rudy. Howard, Cliff.
Yeah.
They say that he didn't mean to disrespect the flag, but a lot of times they saying that because I seen this man who did no news here, a Caucasian white guy, and he said that he had a stove and they endorsed him, and Nike endorsed on Colin Kaepernick, and he said he gonna stop selling Nikes because they're endorsing, Colin Kaepernick. I think he would disrespect the flag, but he said that he don't mean that about disrespect the flag. He don't mean it like that about taking a knee. He says something about about the people shoot the white cops shoot the black people.
That's right.
And don't do nothing about that. What he really mean?
Of course, that's exactly why he's taking a knee.
Right. They keep talking about he disrespect the flag, but Cola said he don't mean it like that. And
I know.
see how the Caucasian people, they take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
They take how they see it. Because they racist, that's what it is. And the man told her he'll shoot sales when he sells Nikes. He told he put a sign on, he stop selling Nikes at his store because they're Nike endorsing Colin Kaepernick. I said that ain't not racist. They talk about disrespect the flag, talk about his dad and his he would all talk about they were in the service. But he don't mean it like that at all. Maybe you need to tell your listener what he really means, because they get the wrong they take it the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Winnie.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And we got Chuck. Yes, Chuck. How you doing?
Hey, doing fine, Rudy. I got a solution
Okay.
to this kneeling stuff. Spent 26 years in the Army.
Okay.
And we used to go to the Post Theater and watch the movies. And before every movie, they used to play the national anthem, and everybody would stand up. Okay, and after about 15 years, somebody got the bright idea in the Pentagon. Hey, you guys are out there doing this and that. Why are we playing the national anthem? So they did away with it, and we just had a regular movie theater. Now, why don't we just do away with all sporting events, do away with the playing of the national anthem? People are patriotic, we get that, but hey, they're there to watch a sports game. They're watching overpaid athletes play a child's game. They're paying big bucks to get in there. I mean, when you're paying $300 for a cheap seat, and then that's not on top of parking and the overpriced beer and all. Just do away with it. I mean, it's everybody knows that there's a problem, but nobody really pays attention. And I think the NFL really took advantage of patriotism and ran it into the ground with their. I think it was most phony display. I really do. I think it was really phony. So I just say, let's do away with it. Let's get the game on. I mean, I can remember back in the 50s and 60s watching the Giants play, and you never had that national anthem was played. They came out, they lined up, and the game started on TV. Let's go back to that.
I have no objection to that.
Yeah,
I got no objection to that at all.
Yeah.
I think that would be actually a very good solution.
Yeah, I mean, it's not denying Kaepernick and other black people the right to protest, but I mean, good heavens, the national anthem takes 2-3 minutes?
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are they doing the other 6 days of the week, 23 hours, and 53 minutes, or 57 minutes? Let's get the news people involved here. These guys need to go and say, hey, like you said, Kaepernick, hey, let it be known he did this. Let people know that they're doing this kind of thing. They can do all that. I mean, they can get an audience anytime they want. Just get a press release to the TV stations, and they'll have a camera crew on them, just like flies on a garbage truck. They'll be there.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I got another call coming in. Thank you, though, sir. Chuck's becoming a regular listener now. We got Bob on line 1. Yes, Bob.
Hey, Rudy, how you doing?
Okay.
I've got, I guess, kind of a trivia question for you, but it is relevant. When was the national anthem first played at a sporting event?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
1953 at a Brooklyn Dodgers game. I don't remember who they played or anything about the game, but it was 1953 at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Before that, they didn't play the national anthem.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with them not playing the anthem.
That's what Chuck was
That
just
doesn't
saying,
mean
yeah.
I don't love our country. I do. And I think Colin Kaepernick deserves a job. It doesn't have to be with the 49ers necessarily. I don't care what team it is with. But he does deserve a job. And I think that he should win phase 2 of that lawsuit.
I think he is, Bob. I think he's going to win big time.
Okay. Like I say, I don't care what team it is. I'd love to see him with my Jets, but I'll settle for anybody.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
Okay.
All righty. Reasonable guy. I didn't know that. 1953.
How many calls did you get?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's one of those record nights here on the African American scene with Rudy Howard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, let me say a couple other things.
Well, it was just 6 wall-to-wall calls.
I think what has happened to Puerto Rico is an absolute disgrace. I think that is absolutely disgraceful. They are American citizens. And I will tell you something. I'm not just saying it to be saying it. I had an occasion last year when some of them were leaving to meet with a gentleman who had a Social Security card from Puerto Rico, which I had never thought. I was helping his father sign up for some benefits. And he had a Social Security card because of the place that he worked at in Puerto Rico. They're American citizens. Just terrible the way that they've been treated. And unfortunately, I called it just as soon as it happened. I knew this was going to happen. And it's a shame. But let me also tell you, Andrew Gillum is leading in the polls. He's beating DeSantis by 4 points. Gillum's up 47-43. Wow. Now, I'm going to just tell you something. I mean, there ain't no secret that I'm black, and we all know that. I'm going to tell you, my support of Gillum has nothing to do with him being black. Andrew Gillum, if you listen at him speak, he speaks from the heart, and he speaks solid, logical reasoning for what he wants to do with the state. And number one is he talked about the teachers, and that was something that you heard me talk about at the outset. I think teachers have been treated horribly all across this country, not just Florida. Every time there's a cut, the teachers were the ones that have had to bear the brunt of the cut, and I think that's wrong. And he talked about the need to properly pay teachers, and hopefully that will happen. And the other thing that he talked about, and if you haven't heard me talk about it, boy, let me tell you again. And Cliff will remember the first night I talked about it, somebody called up and they were so upset with me. You can put, it costs $30,000 to $35,000 a year to keep a person in prison. So if you take a 21-year-old, put him in prison, it costs $30,000 to $35,000 a year. You can take a kid from Florida, in-state tuition, and it'll cost you about room and board about $20,000 a year. Why are we wasting all of that money? If we have, and I've said, Cliff will tell you how much, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you're probably tired of me saying this, but I just can't help it because it's just so logical. It makes so much sense. It's stupid for us not to do it. If you got a kid, we got kids in jail 25 years for smoking a joint. That is absolutely, that's insanity. That's insanity. And it's costing us $30,000 to $35,000 a year for that kid. You could take that kid, put that kid in college, and you put the criteria. You maintain a 3.0 or a 2.9, whatever you want to make it. And if you don't, you go back to jail. I can live with that. Can you live with that? And think about what you're doing. You're going to kill two birds with one stone. You're going to cut down the costs for maintaining that person, and you're going to create a tax-paying citizen. Because if they get their college degree, they're going to be able to go out and generate some income and pay some taxes and become a productive member of our society. What is hard about that? Is there anything hard? Cliff, is there anything hard about that?
Not really. Just use your brains.
I mean,
use
really?
your head. What would they used to say to us, Rudy? They'd say, use your head for something besides a hat rack.
That's right. Yeah, that is just so straightforward. I mean, really. And you can document everything that I just said about that, about what it costs to keep them in jail and what it costs for in-state tuition. And when you take those two and put them side by side, listen, $20,000 college degree, $35,000 incarcerated.
Oh, I know why they get mad. Because they think that perhaps you're implying you should take that criminal and put him through college. When a criminal goes to jail, they're supposed to be punished, and people are getting the wrong idea that they're thinking that maybe we're talking about just don't put them in prison, put them in college, which sounds novel, sounds wonderful, but it's not what can happen. It's not a reality. So we have to just be careful and make sure that we know what we're doing when we convict somebody. When you get called on a jury duty, I think they should learn how to screen jurors to find out if there's traces of racism, because it's still out there. It's getting weaker. It's like a dying creature gasping its last breaths, but it's still out there to some extent.
Hey, let me tell you something, though. They might say that why are we going to put them in college? To do 4 years of college, writing papers you don't want to write and reading books you don't want to read, that ain't exactly a walk in the park. Let me tell you that.
Well, it's not quite prison, but it can be compared to in a way.
I will tell you, there's not a person listening to me who cannot relate to this. I read some books sometimes. I read the page, and I get to the end of the page, and I go, I have no idea what I just read.
Oh, no.
I got no idea. And you go back and you read it, and you read it again, and you read it again until it goes in. You know, that's part of the learning process. You know, so it's not a walk in the park. If you send a kid and say you have to maintain let's say 2.8 average, that kid, girl or male or female, they're gonna have to hustle. They're gonna have to go to the library. They're gonna have to do some research,
or at least get online and do some searching.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're gonna have to do some work. So yeah, that's. But you're right. Some people will say, "Well, why do we want to coddle them?" Well, you can look at it as coddling, or you can look at it as cost savings,
or you can look at it as preventative maintenance and get programs started where kids, the ones that are excelling and look like they're going to do really good, let them go ahead and get started. Let that college life begin for them as soon as possible, and then they can straighten everything else out, and maybe kids will see an incentive to do good. You know.
Well, we do it with foster kids. You know.
Yeah.
If a kid, kids age out at 17. Mm-hmm. or is 18. And if, when they age out, they're eligible to go to college, they get a chance. The system will send them to college. Otherwise, there's another tragedy. At 18, they're on their own.
Yeah.
And if the family that was their foster parents doesn't agree to keep them, at 18 years old, you're out there in the street on yourself trying to find your way.
Yep. Quite unfortunate, but true.
Yes, that's a real tragedy. But anyway, so I would like to say, wow, we had some good calls. And don't forget what I told you about checking your Medicare. I can't say any more than that. I'm not allowed. It's against the law. But just give yourself some time to look over what you have. And you may want to consider making an appointment with your guy or gal at some point after October 1st. And I'd like to thank you so much for listening to the African American Scene. God bless and be safe, and I will see you next week on Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
The African American Scene with Rudy Howard. Wednesday evenings in the 6 o'clock hour, presented each week by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie. Archives of this show can be found at WPSLTV.com. That's our archive presence. And that's where you'll find all of the archives from WPSL. This, by the way, just so happens to be WPSL Port St. Lucie. The African American Scene is just another one of the many reasons why we are the talk of the Treasure Coast. And don't forget, we're celebrating 25 years and counting.